Hi, my name's Kieran from 81 Vintage, and today I'm going to show you how I clean my paintbrushes. Now, if you're into heavy craft, sometimes your paintbrushes can look like they've been to war. And today I want to show you how I bring mine back to life. The first thing to say is this will only work on water-based paints, so please check the tin before you try this. Now, the first tip I have for you is if you're not going to clean your brush straight away, be sure to put it in a glass of water, and you just want to keep it nice and moist. Now, where you are going to clean your brush straight away, this is actually a slightly different technique. I usually use warm water because it's nicer on my hands, and I just pounce the brush up and down, and that is just trying to remove the bulk of the paint that's really easy to get out. You really want a good flow when you're cleaning this so that you can see how the water is changing. With brushes, usually you won't get the brush completely clean because there'll always be some sort of paint residue or staining that will stay on the brush. Normally you will get more heavy staining on a natural bristle brush, and it will just stain it that little bit more. Now, when the water starts to clear, what I tend to do is I squeeze the brush, and I squeeze it to see how much paint comes out, how much pigment comes out, and normally at that point it will tell me how much more cleaning I need to do. The difficulty is getting the inside of the brush clear, and if you can get that and squeeze it and not much pigment comes out, then your brush is pretty much clean. Next, I want to show you how I clean a square brush. So the other one was a round brush. And basically what I do is I pounce this brush in exactly the same way, but I find it better to do it on the side, and it tends to release the pigments a lot easier and clear it out a lot quicker. Now, my brushes are not particularly expensive brushes, but I still want to take good care of them. I've had these brushes for a couple of years now. Now I want to show you one of my more embarrassing paintbrushes, which is this super crusty one. Now, this isn't a particularly expensive paintbrush, but it is one of my favorites. It's a very small paintbrush, and it's particularly nice because it just holds really well in my hand. Now, in this case, I do find that the warmer the water, the better. So I've left this in water for about a day just to try and loosen up some of that paint, but here in particular I am using warm water, and that is to try and remove and break up that paint as much as possible and remove it from the brush. Now, here you can see that it's quite thickly applied, and it really has dried in there well, so this one is a little bit of a challenge. So in this case, where the brush is so caked in paint, what I like to do is take a spoon, and this is just a tablespoon, and I will turn it over and just use the top of the spoon and just scrape out some of that paint. Now, be careful not to remove any bristles, and if you do start to remove bristles, I would recommend you stop immediately, because the more bristles you lose, the more chance that the integrity of the brush will give way. But I've never really lost that many bristles when doing this, and I'm just doing it very, very gently, and I'm just removing as much paint as I can. I also wouldn't recommend that you do this in your porcelain sink, just like me, because you can scratch it and leave little marks. Now that I've removed most of the big chunks of paint, what I'm trying to do here is remove a little bit more of that paint just with my fingers. And I'm just freeing it up and getting those bristles moving, because once the bristles start moving, it makes things an awful lot easier to clean. Once those bristles start moving, it makes things an awful lot easier to clean. So here I've just added a little bit of washing up liquid at the same time, and that's just helping to release and remove a bit more of the paint. Again, I come back in with the spoon just to try and get a little bit more off. And then I create this circular motion. So I rub the brush in a circular motion on my hand, and I can actually feel an awful lot of the paint flakes being loosened and removing and coming off. And this is really, really good to do. If you're finding that your brush is holding onto pigments when you're freshly cleaning it, try doing this circular motion, and that helps open up the inside of the brush and remove a lot more. Now on this particular paintbrush, it was really stubborn. The paint was really encrusted into the center of it. So what I do is I take a fork when I have this issue, and I just use the fork almost like a comb. You probably could use a comb as well, but the fork is washable, and you know, I don't really have combs at home, so it just makes things really easy, and it just frees up and breaks up a lot more of that paint on the inside. So I just remove as much of the paint that's loose in there as I can, and then I just repeat the circular motion a couple more times on my hand. I just store them in this pot. I store them upside down. I make sure that I flick out as much water as I can. And there you have it. Within a couple of minutes, I've managed to clean 3 paintbrushes, 2 that have just been freshly used that had, you know, quite a decent amount of paint on them, and then one which was completely encrusted with paint and had been left to die. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Also, please let me know if I'm missing out on any tips and tricks that you know about how to save my crusty brushes. And also, don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram to see all the different types of projects that we're using these paintbrushes on.